Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph 101a.
Morning.
Morning. So we raised this discussion about sickness and danger in relation to these demons, specifically that story of the Rabbi Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta, who drank or rubbed himself with some oil that was used for communication with demons, and he got sick. So in that discussion, the Gemara raised another issue related to becoming sick, and the Gemara has a number of stories about that. So if you go to the widest set of lines on the right side, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from the widest set of lines, and the second word is Amar Le. The first one is V'itze, he got healed, in the end of the previous story, and the second word is Amar. Amar le Rab Abba le Rabba bar Mari. Rab Abba told Rabba, son of Mari. Got it? Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph. Yeah. Amar le Rab Abba le Rabba bar Mari. Rab Abba told Rabba, son of Mari. Ksiv, the verse reads, God promises. This is the blessings when someone follows on Hashem's ways. So God says, all of the sickness that I induced in Egypt, I will never put upon you, for I am God, your healer. So any sickness, in those Torah is saying, if someone follows the Torah, any sickness that God induced in Mitzrayim won't be given to the Jewish people because God is the healer. So, says Rab Abba to Rabba bar Mari, considering the fact that the first half of the verse says God will not give sickness like there was in Egypt, why would I need a healing? Because the verse ends, I am God your healer. If there's preventative medicine and God's not giving any sickness, then what's the need for the verse to end off and say, I'm God your healer? There's no sickness to begin with. Amar Le, so Rabbi Bar Mari responded to Abba, Rabbi Abba, and I think this is a very uplifting line actually. This is what Rabbi Yochanan said in explaining this verse. This verse in and of itself explains itself. Because for the verse reads, earlier in that same verse, and God says, or Moshe speaking in the name of God, if you listen and hearken to the voice of God your Lord. So in other words, the verse is putting conditional, so to speak, on the statement. This idea that God's not going to put any sickness to the Jewish people is conditional to accepting and listening to the word of God. So therefore read it like this, says Rabbi Yochanan. Im tishma, if one follows God's ways, lo yasim, God will not even place any sickness, completely preventative. Vim lo tishma, if you won't listen, asim, then there will be sicknesses. After became nonetheless, God will remain a healer, and healing is available. In other words, even a Jew, or the people as a whole, God forbid, are suffering because the reality is that we're not perfect. Nonetheless, healing, God says, is still there. In other words, even taking a little more like metaphysical, even a Jew who's gone down the rabbit hole of sinning and is stuck in this spiral, Ani Hashem Rafecha, I am God the healer, there's no such thing as lost hope. Even when the Jew is all the way in that place where he's deserving, God forbid, of the sickness of Mitzrayim, the tumah of Mitzrayim, nonetheless, Ani Hashem Rafecha, I am God the healer, that even in that place, God come in and schlep that yid out. Which is, I think, an uplifting kind of reading of this pasuk. Okay, so now having raised the issue of sickness and healing, the Gemara tells us a number of stories. Amar Rabbi bar Chana says, Rabba, son of Bar Chana. I think I mentioned this once before, but I think Bar Chana is not a name, but a title. Like, Bar literally means son of, Chana is like gracious. But calling someone the son of something was a way of titling somebody. Like today you would say the builder. So it's not uncommon in this language to say the son of builder, as if to say he is a builder, kind of thing. So Bar Chana means like the son of the gracious one. It could just mean the gracious one. Meaning Rabba, son of the one who is known as the gracious one. It could be what it means, I think. I don't know if his grandfather's name was Chana. I don't know. Anyways, You have to know the whole Gemara to know when the one time Rashi explains it to know what this means, but I don't. But I think this is correct. Anyway, Rabbi son of Bar Chana says like this: when Rabbi Lezer got sick, so his students went to go visit him, visiting their sick Rebbe, their sick teacher. Amr lahen, so Rabbi Lezer tells his students, there's a great heat/anger in the world. What he means to say is, obviously, God is angry at me, and that's why I'm sick. So they started to cry. The students started to cry. Rabbi Akiva was smiling and laughing. There's a number of stories like this where, famously in the end of Masechta Makkos, where he famously, I'll tell the story in a minute, where he famously laughs while everybody else is crying. He's the ultimate optimist, as we'll see. So Amrullah,
we saw the destruction of the temple.
that's correct. That's the story I was referring to.
Yeah, with the foxes and the
That's right.
Yeah.
Amrullah, so they said to him, to Rabbi Akiva, Lama antum masachek, why would you be laughing now? Our Rebbe is in pain, and he just told us that God's angry at him. So Rabbi Akiva says to them, okay, let's rationalize all of this. Why is it that you guys are crying? Amrullah, so they said to him, Efsher, is it possible, Sefer Torah Shari B'tzar, that a sage like Rabbi Lezer, who is so saturated with Torah that he's like a Sefer Torah itself, like a book of Torah, and here he is lying in pain. But like Nifkin, we're not going to cry. Like I don't understand. Amar lahen, so Rabbi Akiva told them, Lakachani misachik. That's why I'm laughing. Why? Shekos ma'ashani roya Rabbi she'ein yene machmetz. When I see a teacher, our teacher, whose wine does not become sour, vein pishtanoi loika, and his flax doesn't get like ruined, vein shmanim mevayish, and his oil doesn't get congealed or like ruined, vein divshanim madvish, and his honey doesn't get spoiled. There's all different words for this thing. Amarti, so I see his life is perfect. So I say, Amarti, I've been saying to myself, Shema, perhaps, Chas v'shalom, God forbid, Kibbul Rebbe Olamai, that God already, that our teacher Rebbe already was, God had already paid him for all of his work in this world. So all the great things he's accomplished, God already gave him all his reward, because look at him, he's doing so well. But now that I see that our teacher is in pain and he's samech, I'm happy, because now I know that obviously whatever negativity our teacher may have, he's being cleansed in this world, and when he comes to the next world, he's going to be fine. Because till now I was worried that he was doing so well that he's getting his reward and it's chipping away at what would come from in the world to come. But now that I see that he's in pain, okay, so whatever cleansing he needs, he's getting, and he's going to be okay. So that's why he's laughing. Amar Allah, so now Rabbi Lezer turns to him and says, Akiva, doesn't say Rabbi. It's a student. But before, when we introduced, when the Gemara is telling us a story, the Gemara said, Rabbi Akiva Mesachek, Rabbi Akiva is laughing. But here when it's quoting Rabbi Lezer, the teacher, it says Akiva. Referring to him his first name, that's saying Rabbi. Talking to a student. So he says, have I lacked anything in Torah? In other words, you're assuming that there's some part of me needs to be cleansed, and that's why I'm in pain here. What do I need to be cleansed of? I'm doing perfectly fine. Right? Why should I be deserving of suffering for my sin? I have no sin. Completely honest. So Amar Allah, Rabbi Akiva says, our teacher taught us. We mentioned this once before, that the proper way of speaking to a teacher or to a parent is not to just correct them as if you know better than them, but rather to kind of correct them in a kind of way where you say, I believe you once told me. So you're kind of giving them credit for the correction itself. So Rabbi Akiva does that, and he says to...
Even if it's not from them?
That's true, yeah. That's why I said, you can say something like, I believe, but yeah, even if it's not from them. It doesn't qualify that it has to be effort from them. So, because he's actually about to quote a verse, which is straight up in scripture. I don't know if it needs Rabbi Lezer to teach him that. But so he says like this, Rabbi Akiva told Rabbi Lezer, but you, our teacher, taught us already. A verse which reads, quote, a verse in Kaheles, Ki adam ein tzaddik baretz, for a man, there is not a tzaddik of a man in this world, Asher yasa toiv, who does tons of good, v'lo yachta, that won't sin. In other words, even the most perfect people have some little bit of correction. Maybe sin on some subtle level where I don't know what,
You're not even aware of it.
Sorry?
Something that you did that you...
Even not even aware of, yeah. So there's chet, there's sin, which literally means sin, but then Chassidus always says that chet is melashon chisaron. Chet comes from the term of lack. I mean, even someone who never violates any of the precepts of Torah, there could still be, compared to what he could have done, maybe he did 99.9% of the thing and he didn't get that 1%, some very subtle lack that he might be missing. Like, for example, which is interesting, I was going to add this, like, for example, we're hearing saying Rabbi is sick, right? So the word in Hebrew for sick is chayla, right? Chayla equals totals how much?
43.
Chayla with a vav.
The vav would be then 49.
49. So what does sickness have to do with 49? So the highest level of understanding is 50.
One less.
He's one less. So he's sick on two counts. Number one, because he's missing something, but more than that, he's bothered by the fact, he's so sick over the fact that he can't get that one more. So what I'm saying is, when the Gemara here says sin, it doesn't necessarily mean that he literally violated some commandment. It's possible he never violated any commandment ever. But on some very subtle level, like the Gemara says, the Gemara says that a Talmud Chacham is allowed an eighth of ego. 16th of ego. 64th, I'm sorry, 64th. So what if he had a 60th of ego? So it's a little bit too much. That could have been the whole sin. Right? You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be outright sin. It could be something much more subtle than that. But I did want to say that I think the continuation from this Gemara to the previous Gemara talked about the statement just before was where God says that if there's no sin, then there's no sickness. If there's sin, then there's sickness. But Ani Hashem Efecha, I'm God, your healer. And here the next Gemara is that Rabbi Akiva is laughing, even though his teacher is suffering, because he sees that this suffering is going to bring to greater good later. So, in keeping in line with the way the Rabbi explains the other story of Rabbi Akiva laughing, the story you referenced, which is the story is in the end of Masechta Makos, where Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues were walking in Yerushalayim, and they saw a fox walking on the Holy of Holies, and they all started crying. Look at this, the Holy of Holies is ruined, and here's a fox trotting around, and Rabbi Akiva is laughing, and he said, the reason why I'm laughing is because there's a prophecy that describes the destruction, and here I see the destruction is complete. Then if that prophecy came true, then certainly the prophecy of redemption is also true, and therefore I'm laughing. Similar to this, he's seeing the potential in the future. The Rebbe explains there very famously, without getting into all the details of that Gemara, because the Rebbe really parses every single line of that Gemara. And the bottom line is that when we say that Rabbi Akiva is happy because there's going to be an outcome later, it's not simply because he's willing to forgo the pain now for what's going to come later. Does Rabbi Akiva not see the pain and destruction? So what if later Rabbi Eliezer is going to be enjoying Gan Eden? That's very nice, but right now he's in pain. Why did you laugh? Right. So therefore, it must be that Rabbi Akiva actually sees. It's not just that he sees, it's worth going through the pain now because later it's going to be better. It's more than that. It's in the current pain now, he sees how that is part and parcel of the growth to get better later. So he doesn't see golus, he doesn't see exile as a lull, as a time when we're missing redemption. He sees exile as the process to get to redemption. So his whole exile is a different exile. Not that he feels the pain any less, but he sees the pain not as a break in the joy, but as the process to get to joy. He sees exile as a process to Geula, and therefore he's laughing currently now, not just about what's happening in the future, but now he's laughing because he sees the future that's coming out of it.
It's also like more in time. It's that anyone who mourns for Yerushalayim will see the Nechama. He sees the Nechama now.
That's correct. In mourning Jerusalem, what you're really seeing is that the mourning now is a process of bringing the Geula later.
What he sees is Hashem keeping his promise to us.
That's right. No, there goes the whole. The Gemara chooses certain verses which seem to be out of place, like it should have chosen other verses that back it up, and that basically proves that what Rabbi Akiva is trying to say is that right now he's seeing the process of Mashiach coming in the exile.
Right.
So here, perhaps we can apply the same rule here. Rabbi Akiva sees in suffering, he doesn't just see that it's worth it because later it's going to be better.
No, he doesn't see.
But he sees in the suffering how one can find God in the suffering, because this suffering is his cleansing, if you will,
right.
Even at the most subtle level, right? And maybe that gets back to the previous Gemara. Where the Gemara says that if there is no sickness, if there's no sin, there's no reason for sickness. There's no sin, there's no reason for cleansing. But if there is sin, then I am God your healer. It means to say, even in sin, there is the capacity for healing. Or moreover, the pain itself is part of the healing. Ani Hashem refecha, in that pain. In the pain a person's going through this, Ani Hashem refecha. A good example of this, and I heard this one's from Zalman Kaplan, Rabbi Zalman Kaplan. We talked about, he used a mashal, it's a good mashal. Said that when a parent forces his child to go to the dentist, and the kid's crying, so the parent is forcing the kid to go down. The parent has a view, and it's not like it's worth the pain of the dentist. The dentist is cleaning the kid. That in and of itself is a good thing, even though it's not like just later. Right now, it's a good thing. But even moreover, what does the parent do to calm the child down? So this is something that this was a word that I didn't heard. So the parent says, "Here, take my thumbs, and every time it hurts, squeeze my thumb." So the same parent that's tying the kid down is the same one who's offering simultaneously the comfort. In other words, in that action, and telling the child that, squeeze my fingers so that I know you're in pain, that in and of itself gives the child a meaning in the pain. So Ani Hashem Refecha, I'm God your healer, not just I'm going to heal you and you'll get out of it. But even now, while a person's going through the cleansing process, a person can be misachik, a person can be laughing with Rabbi Akiva, and that he feels God's presence in healing and cleansing him. It's quite a level.
It's kind of how we explain Galus.
Yeah, that's the explain. We're following Rabbi Akiva's model. We're trying to. It's certainly much easier said than done. When a person's in pain, a person's in pain. A person feels distant, he feels distant. But it's good to be aware, at least know that this is the reality. The reality is that Hashem is there with us in the cleansing, in the darkness, in the pain in and of itself. A person gets exiled, the presence of Hashem is exiled with us.
Through our entire journey, we will be there.
And that in and of itself is the refecha. That in and of itself is part of the healing. I'm saying that the healing doesn't come in the same way the laughing is now of Rabbi Akiva. He's laughing now with all his teachers in pain because he feels the cleansing. So Ani Hashem refecha, the verse which says, I am God your healer, is not just that, you will get healed after you're done your pain.
Right.
It's in the pain, Ani Hashem refecha, I am God your healer. Understand? It's not just when the sickness is over, God's going to come and heal. Now that you paid your dues. No, in the pain, in the sickness, I'm God your healer. I'm there with you in that pain, holding your hand as you're going through this difficult cleansing and process of growth, or whatever it is that the person has to go through in life.
Interesting, the word rofecha, you rearrange because you achaper. Rofecha is less.
Achaper, I will v'achaper, and I will atone. Actually, kapara also comes from the word cleansing.
Cleansing, exactly.
Kinuach, lashon kinuach.
Exactly.
That's very good. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Right, have a wonderful day. Have a good chodesh. Happy chodesh. Kislev is a Chassidic chodesh. Kislev is a Chassidic month. They got lots of Chassidic days, and Chanukah is coming up. It's a very exciting time, and winter vacation is coming up. Joking. All right, have a wonderful day, everybody.
I learned that from Magic.